Hi, I'm Remington, welcome. So I've been thinking about book hauls recently. I stopped doing those a while back before I disappeared for a while, although as you can probably tell if you look behind me, I haven't stopped buying books. And that's for a few different reasons. The main one is often I found in those videos I was just saying, I don't know much about this book, but I've heard that it's good, and then just moving on to the next one. And that I didn't really feel like having nothing to say about a book was worthwhile mentioning it at all just because I bought it. Like that doesn't mean anything. I didn't feel like it was valuable. I'd prefer to talk about books that I've already read and share my thoughts on them rather than just, maybe I'll get to this book in a year or two. And so I rewatched all those old videos and I was going through them, noting which ones I've read and which ones I haven't read. And I made a full list, and I thought that it might be fun to go through that with you. So I'm going to separate it by the 5 different videos that I made, and within those 5 videos I'm going to separate it by books that I read since I bought them, books that I read before I bought them, and books that I haven't read. Spoiler alert, books that I haven't read is by far the biggest category. Anyway, let's start with the first book haul. I only bought 7 books in the first book haul, and I've only read one of them since, which was Saga Volume 1, probably because it's a really short graphic novel. And Saga was okay, but it wasn't anything special. And then there were 5 books that I had already read. The Bible, which, I haven't read all of the Bible. Nobody's actually read Leviticus all the way through. You can't convince me of that. And then 4 of the Warriors books that I read when I was younger. And then the only book that I haven't ever read from the first book haul is The Forgotten Man, another graphic novel. So all things considered, even though that book haul was about 10 months ago now, I'd consider that a pretty astounding success. Okay, so for book haul number 2, I've read 3 out of the 18 books since I bought them. The Catcher in the Rye, pretty good book. Of Mice and Men, one of my favorite books. Fault in Our Stars, which is, it's okay. It's pretty good. And then the 3 that I've read before I bought them was, of course, The Authoritative, Calvin and Hobbes. Oh, actually I lied, it's 19 altogether because I bought 2 different volumes of these. One of which is in my closet somewhere, and it's not in nearly as good shape as this one. But I had read that one too. And then we have first 2 Hunger Games, which I read when I was much younger. So 6 books that I have read, 3 after I bought them, 3 before I bought them. And then a bunch of books that I haven't. Well, actually I did DNF this one. I tried to read it. It's a poetry collection, Call Us What We Carry, and I just couldn't get into it. I don't know. I haven't found any poetry that I've really liked. There's poems here and there, but when I sit down and try to read a poetry book, it doesn't click with me usually. So, and also then Rich Dad Poor Dad. I kind of flipped through it and looked at some of the main points, and I also read some reviews about it, and it just doesn't seem like something I'm interested in. I live below my means, I do all right financially, so this is not really something I need to be spending my time with, I think. But both of these books I'm going to be unhauling. I'm probably going to give them to one of the library bookstores around me. And then to the disgraceful stack of books that I haven't read from the second book haul. And this is where it starts getting kind of bad. So actually, I'm thinking about getting rid of this one too, because recently I've been hearing a lot of takes about this book, most of them being negative. Large portions of it apparently have been discredited or debunked to some extent. It's something that I need to look into a little bit further before I make the final choice. But I don't really want to read a 450-page book about history if large portions of it aren't, holding up. So then Homo Deus is one that I am very excited to read. Don't know if it's ever gonna happen though. I mean, it's gonna happen, I just don't know when. I do plan on reading just about every one of these books eventually. We also have The Da Vinci Code that I didn't read. The Alchemist, I'll probably read this one soon. Let's see how many times I say that throughout this video. East of Eden by John Steinbeck. The Warlock, this is one of the few that I'm not really excited about. Like, I still plan on reading it at some point, but it's probably gonna be years before I ever get around to it. Just cause like I haven't really heard anything about it. And I don't really remember why I bought it. We also have They Both Die at the End, Perks of Being a Wallflower, The Quran, which I'm kind of scared to get to, although I do need to, and Macbeth. So, yikes, this is kind of getting in the way. So from the second book haul, I read 3 since I bought them, 4 before I bought them, and gosh, math, and then 12 I have not read. So already we are not doing too great. From the third book haul, again, 3 books read since I bought them. The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, which is one that I think I'm gonna have to reread pretty soon because I've been thinking about it a lot recently because I really didn't like it the first time I read it, kind of in a similar way to 1984. But the more I think about it, I mean, everything that I don't like about it, like there's a reason that I don't like it, and I don't think that that's gonna change. But I think that I need to take a more kind of big picture look at it, if that makes any kind of sense. I might talk about it at some point. The Pearl by John Steinbeck. Great book, although I do think it would be better as a screenplay. And then Paper Towns, which I only finished. Just knock those books off. I only finished Paper Towns because it's a John Green book. If it wasn't, I would have DNF'd it. Then for the books that I had read before I bought them. Mortality by Christopher Hitchens. The first time I read this book, I was super confused because I thought it was titled Morality and not Mortality. And it took me like halfway through the book to figure out like, oh, I'm just dumb and misread the title. Then we also have George Orwell's Animal Farm and The Giver. And then from the third haul that I didn't read, we have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which I will not be getting to anytime soon. Tale of Two Cities, again, probably won't be getting to it pretty soon. John Steinbeck's The Red Pony, which I do plan on reading this year, probably. Don't hold me to that. Big Damn Heroes. I've started this one. John Stuart Mill's On Liberty. I wouldn't consider it a DNF, both because I didn't read enough of it to really make that decision, as well as I liked it as I was reading it. It's just, philosophy is hard, and it takes forever to get through. And then we also have Signature Classics by C.S. Lewis, which is another one that's gonna take me a long time to get through, but I do need to do it. So from the third haul, 3 read, 3 prior read, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I haven't read. That's not as bad, but it's still kind of bad. Okay, then we have haul number 4. This one was by far the biggest one. So of the ones that I've read, we got Persepolis, pretty good. We have Pet Sematary, which was kind of disappointing after coming off of Misery, but still pretty good. Brave New World, which was okay. And then Romeo and Juliet, which was surprisingly good. So, 4 that I read. Then we have 2 that I had previously read. Hatchet, which is pretty decent, and Ender's Game, which is one of my favorites, even though Orson, that's a weird name. Even though Orson Scott Card is a terrible person, Ender's Game is one of my favorite books ever. Then we have the Unreads, which is 1 stack. And then, yikes, 2 stack. And because I dropped some, 3 stacks. So, yikes, kind of making a mess here. You've got Fahrenheit 451, which I do need to read it. I really do. I need to get around to it already. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. The Importance of Being Earnest. We've got the second, third, and fourth of the Dark Tower series. We've got All the Light We Cannot See. We've got The Heart of Darkness. We've got The Grapes of Wrath. We've got Cannery Row. And The Handmaid's Tale, which is one that I've tried to read a couple times. And I do like the part that I read. It's just I don't know if it's just I'm not in the mood or I don't know what it is, but it's never the right time to read it. And I want to make sure that I'm reading it at a time that I actually want to read it, because I know it's going to be a great book and I really want to actually enjoy it. I've also got Lord of the Flies, another one that I've tried to read a couple times but just can't get into for whatever reason. Watership Down. Persepolis 2, this one I'll probably be getting to pretty soon. Then we have the third, fourth, fifth, and I don't know where, no, this one's 100 years before the others, I think. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones books. Or Song of Ice and Fire, I suppose, would be the proper way to say it. Anyway, that brings us to the final book haul, of which I've read 2. The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins, which is a really good book. I'd recommend it. And Why Vegan, which is not as much as I want it to be, but it was good. Then we have the Have Not Reads. Yet again. It's crazy how that works. This was the non-fiction book haul that I did, by the way. The Blind Watchmaker, Richard Dawkins. The God Delusion, Richard Dawkins. Outgrowing God, Richard Dawkins. Origin of the Species, Charles Darwin. Portable Atheist by Christopher Hitchens. And God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens. Yeah, so that's a lot of books that I haven't read. Yeah, let me take you on a little tour here. Don't mind all the books stacked over there. So, total books that I read since I bought them, this stack right here. Those are books that I'm getting rid of. Books that I read before I bought them, this stack here. Then these 2 stacks. And everything on here is all the books that I hauled that I haven't read. So, yeah, given that I've had most of these books for at least 9 months and haven't read the vast majority of them, I think it's the right call that I'm not doing book hauls anymore. Also, it feels cheap. Because again, like I said earlier, I don't have anything to say about books that I haven't read other than I'm excited to read this book or I've heard good things about it. And that's not something of substance. Which, not to say that everything needs to be something of substance in order to be said or to be entertaining or to be worthwhile. But, I don't know. It feels disingenuous in a way to try and do that. Because I have no problem with people owning lots of books. Obviously, I own lots of books. But when you're motivated by something outside, like, book haul videos, that just makes the whole thing feel cheap, I feel like. Hopefully you enjoyed this rambling. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you liked, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if not, that's okay too. Anyway, I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.